Hello everyone, this is Tom Fox and I'd like to welcome you to the Daily Compliance News. The Daily Compliance News is an offering of the Compliance Podcast Network. September 2, 2019, the Sauvage or Savage edition. First up, from the Wall Street Journal, many CFOs are reporting that they have underestimated the challenges of the new lease accounting standards. Private companies preparing for the transition have been watching how public companies have implemented the rules, and apparently it's been some stumbles. The Financial Accounting Standards Board began in the past year requiring companies to report their operating leases on their balance sheets in an effort to increase transparency for investors and lenders. This transition has proved to be a heavier than expected lift for many companies, as about 2/3 of companies in the later stages of implementing the standard, those evaluating and deploying software and migrating data, have experienced difficulties. Those late-stage challenges don't align with expectations, as just 37% of companies in the early stages of implementation anticipated that the transactions would be this difficult. In a fairly unsurprising announcement, as reported in the Associated Press, Mexico's president vows to tackle not only the criminal elements in the country and the associated violence, but also corruption. He says stamping out corruption and impunity remains a top priority. Tackling corruption, obviously, in Mexico is a tall risk, as Mexico scored 28 out of 100 points in Transparency International's 2018 Corruption Perception Index. Nothing has damaged Mexico more than the dishonesty of its rulers, said the president. In addition, this is the main cause of the economic and social inequality and insecurity and violence that we all suffer in our country. So it's going to be interesting to see if he really follows through with this and what it might mean. Another country in the news around anti-corruption has had a new focus, as the new Saudi Arabian anti-corruption chief vows to target public servants. The head of the Anti-Corruption Commission said he plans to go after graft by ordinary government employees following a high-profile campaign 2 years ago that netted princes, ministers, and top businessmen. I think everyone's probably aware of the story of the kingdom's economic and political elite who were detained for months at Riyadh's Ritz-Carlton in a crackdown on unsettled investors. Now, the new head of the agency said he has been instructed to help eradicate corruption among mid to low-level public servants. So it's going to be interesting to see what this campaign really means in Saudi Arabia. And finally, then you have to, in the What Were They Thinking department, as reported in the Washington Post, Dior premiered a new perfume which was entitled Sauvage, S-A-U-V-A-G-E, which in American translates to savage, which perhaps is okay or perhaps not. But when you pair that with a Native American dancing, it's pretty clear what the message is, that all red men are savages. And Dior apparently did not market test this and put this advertisement out, and now is receiving significant blowback from this on social media. So you need to pay attention to translations, and for the compliance practitioner, this means that simply because a word means one thing in English, it may not mean the same in not only every other country in the world, but the target country where you're trying to market your compliance program in. If Dior had thought about this in terms of their American market, they may have understood this was really not the way for them to go forward. So once again, another compliance lesson from the world of advertising and marketing going forward. Hope you will check out the new podcast, Why a Duck, with myself, Tom Fox, and Mike Volkov. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio.